Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most common data formats you will ever see, JSON. We are going to figure out how to tame it, how to shape it, and how to make it do exactly what you want, all using Python. So let's jump right in. So you've probably been here before, right? You pull some data from an API, you open a file, and you're just hit with this wall of text that looks like a completely tangled up ball of yarn. It's confusing, it's messy, and you have no idea where to even start. Yep, we've all been there. Well, that tangled mess, that's almost always JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation. But don't you worry, in this quick explainer, we're going to give you the exact tools you need in Python to untangle, navigate, and control any JSON data that comes your way. All right, so where do we even begin? Let's start with your main toolkit. Python has a built-in JSON module that gives you 4 absolute powerhouse functions. These are the foundation for everything else we're going to do. Think of them as your essential gear for this data adventure. The trick here is actually super simple. It all comes down to one letter, S. If the function has an S on the end, like loads or dumps, it works with strings. If it doesn't have the S, like load or dump, it works directly with file objects. That's it. That's the whole secret. Okay, now that we've got the basics down, let's tackle something a little more real world. See, most JSON isn't just a flat list. It's nested. The best way to think about it is like a digital filing cabinet, where you've got folders inside of other folders, and those folders have documents inside them. So what we're talking about here is called nested JSON. It's just a structure where the values can be other JSON objects or arrays themselves. This kind of hierarchy is what makes it so powerful for organizing data in a way that just makes sense. So how do you actually get to that piece of information buried deep inside? Well, it's surprisingly easy. You just drill down through the layers. You chain the keys together using square brackets, one after the other. So here, we go from the main object into student, then into address, and bam, we grab this city. Now that seems simple enough, but it leads to a really important question, one that separates code that works from code that breaks. What happens if you try to grab a key that isn't actually there? And here's the danger zone. If you use that direct bracket method and any one of those keys along the chain is missing, like say there's no pin code for this address, your entire program will just stop, dead in its tracks. You'll get a key error, and that's a huge risk, especially in code that's running live. And this is exactly why we need to code defensively. The professional, safe way to do this is with the .get method. It does the same thing as the brackets, but it has a superpower. If a key is missing, it doesn't crash. Instead, it just returns a default value that you can provide. This one-timey change makes your code so much more resilient. Okay, let's level up. We're ready to tackle the kind of data you're actually going to see out there in the wild. Real-world apps rarely hand you one single neat object. More often than not, you're going to be dealing with lists of things, multiple users or products or records. And that brings us to what we call complex JSON. It's really just a mix of everything we've already seen. You have nested objects, but now they're inside arrays or lists. This structure, like this list of employees you see here, is pretty much the standard for getting collections of data from an API. So because you have a list of items now, you can't just access them with one key. You need a way to go through the array and look at each object one by one. And a simple for loop in Python is the perfect tool for the job. It lets you iterate through each employee in the list and pull out whatever details you need. All right, theory is one thing, but let's put what we've learned into practice. I've got a couple of quick challenges for you to see if you've got it down. So get ready to pause the screen and give it a shot. Okay, here's the first one. We're loading a JSON string. Then we're grabbing an item from that list using its index, and finally multiplying it by another value in the object. Take a second, pause if you need to, and see if you can figure out what the final output is going to be. If you guessed 18, you are absolutely right. Well done. So let's quickly break that down. Object /numbers semicolon 2 is grabbing the item at index 2 of the list. And remember, indexing starts at 0, so that's the number 3. Then we just multiply that by object /total, which is 6. So 3 times 6 gives us 18. Perfect. All right, you ready for round 2? This one is going to test your knowledge of data types. We're loading a string here that has null and true values in it. What do you think Python is going to print for the value of B, and what will the type of C be? Go ahead, pause, and think it over. And the answer is none and class bool. And here's why. This shows a really important translation that happens automatically. The JSON module knows how to convert JSON's special values into their Python equivalents. So JSON's null becomes the none object in Python, and the JSON Boolean true becomes the Python Boolean true. It's a totally seamless conversion. Wow, we have covered a lot of ground in a really short amount of time. So let's wrap this all up with a quick recap of the most important things to remember. Think of this as your personal JSON cheat sheet. First, always remember the S rule. Load and dump are for files, loads and dumps are for strings. Next, to get at nested data, you chain your keys, and for arrays of data, you use loops. And maybe the most important rule of all, always use the .get method to access data safely. It'll keep your programs from crashing. And we'll just end on this thought from the great B.B. King. The skills you've just picked up are now part of your personal toolkit. Nobody can take that away from you, and now you can go use them to build some amazing things. Thanks for watching.